right, ladies and gentlemen, we've got for the first time Kat Mears coming in here. Can I get some love and some crowd appreciation in the chat, please? There we go. Love it, love it, love it, love it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Kat Mears coming to us from Stitch. Super excited. She's talking using a messaging matrix to create best-in-class campaigns. Kat, how are you doing?
I'm doing awesome. How are you doing? How's the crowd?
Oh, pretty amazing, pretty amazing. Love our crowd, love our viewership. They're so fun. Everyone's fun. You're fun. It's
Nice.
a good time no matter what. But all right, ladies and gentlemen, real quick, just some friendly reminders, some housekeeping. Make sure you put those questions in the upper right-hand corner in the Q&A tab, and then upvote the ones that are more pertinent to the subject so we can stay on topic. But I'm going to go and let Kat take over here, and I'm going to check around, make sure everyone's having a good competition. Kat, let me know if you need anything, all right?
All right, let's hit it. Let's get to it. All right, guys. Hi. So lovely introduction from our own little T-Bird. We're going to get into it. I'm putting on my wristbands. We're getting serious here. But just a little bit about me. I'm currently a marketing technology strategist at a company called Stitch. Essentially, my kind of superpower is I sit in between our marketing teams and our technology teams, and I kind of translate the requirements of marketing back to the requirements of IT, and essentially like keep everybody talking the same kind of language. What do I do outside of work? I currently have a little kitty cat named Tinker, who may or may not show up, and a foster dog whose name is Purple Prue. She's outside. If I have to let her in, I'm just right here. So FYI. But feel free to hit me up at cat@stitch.com or on my LinkedIn page. So let's get into it. I want to talk to you guys. I want to welcome you into the ring. Let's get in there. Then I'm going to send you to your corners. We are going to start looking like what multi-channel marketing looks like. How do you actually build multi-channel campaigns? We're going to go through some best practices for creating those campaigns. Lastly, I'm going to walk through a case study of somebody who did this and show kind of the results of what they got. Like what did they do for their marketing efforts through leveraging multi-channel campaigns. And then we're going to wrap it up and get into some Q&A. So with that, welcome to the ring. I'm going to set some ground rules for us. And this is my own sort of just personal hill that I'll die on forever and ever. But I will always talk about multi-channel campaigns being multi-channel or cross-channel, because marketing came up with this term omni-channel like a while ago, and I don't know about you, but I just felt like it was always superfluous. I don't get it. It just is like out there, seems like marketing fluff to me. So cross-channel or multi-channel marketing it is. Omni-channel, bonzo gonzo. Let's see here. So can you see the Braze research screen? Love it. Braze went out to some of its clients and it talked to them about what effectiveness they saw when their brands leveraged actual true cross-channel or multi-channel campaigns. And what they found was that on average, brands were able to increase their users' lifetime value by 76%, which is a pretty huge number. If you could go to your CMO today and say you could deliver them increase lifetime value by 76%, they would either think you're crazy or they would tell you, okay, here's $11 million. Please go forward and make sure that happens for all of our campaigns. So with that, hit that button there. I'm sending you to your corners. And in this case, I'm sending you to literal corners because the matrix is actually 4 quadrants. Now, these quadrants are based on like 2 axes. And if I remember from math, you've got your y-axis, which is your vertical axis, and your x-axis, which is your horizontal one. So top to bottom, how urgent is your message? Is it something that the subscriber needs to see right this minute? Or is it less urgent? Can they see it in a day or several days later? And then the horizontal or the x-axis is how complex of a message is it? Is it something that you can distill down to like 5 to 7 words? Is it a tweet? Or is it something with imagery or interactivity or anything along those lines where you need a different channel to convey that message. And so I've mapped the kind of channels here to where they naturally fit. SMS and push, are super intrusive. So they're like in the very urgent. They also tend to be pretty simple messaging. So they're on that side in that quadrant. You've got, email and your website on the other side, because you can do a lot with those. And then paid search and social are here in this bottom left quadrant, partly because, you can do some interactivity things with social, but they're not super urgent. You're basically just being where your subscribers are. I'm going to go to, I'm going to skip that slide. But so bang, bang. How do you actually start mapping your metrics and like mapping your messages into a multi-channel campaign? So what you want you to think about is essentially three things. How simple is your message? Now, you can start at either end of the spectrum. You could start with the simplest, or you could start with the most complex and work kind of in either way, right? But effectively, how simple is your message? Because when you think about the channels that you're talking to people, if your message can fit on a phone or even a watch, you don't have a lot of real estate there, right? Like, I mean, look at my watch. Like, I can see the time and the weather. Like, I can't see a lot of stuff there. So if I've got a complex message, it's obviously not going to be a good fit for my phone screen. Alternately, how urgent is that message? So I like the watch example because it's very simple. It's also very urgent. It's literally sitting on my wrist. So if you send out a message and it buzzes my wrist, I'm going to look at it immediately. Do I need to see that right now? Is it going to annoy me? Because like maybe it's urgent for you, but it's not so super urgent for me. Like, sale starts now. Okay, cool. I may be kind of interested in that because it may be a sale I'm looking forward to, but it could just be like, I don't know, something annoying. Like I'm getting Prime Day notifications right now from Amazon. Prime Day doesn't start for another like week and a half or something. So I'm kind of annoyed by that. It's like, it's not even something I can do anything about. So this is kind of your golden rule in terms of urgency. Is it going to annoy me or is it going to not annoy me? And then lastly, this is probably like the biggest hurdle that I hear from clients when I talk to them about doing multi-channel campaigns is they'll come to me and they'll be like, I just spent like 3 weeks getting my content approved and written for this email. And now you're telling me you want me to create banner ads and paid search campaigns and website content and social posts. And I don't have time for all of that. And I'm annoyed that you're even asking me to do any of that. So when you can take your message and distill it down to how simple it is, and then determine how urgent it can be for your different channels, then you can look at how do you reuse it. And so I want to share this slide with you guys because it's a good, I think, reference point. Feel free to pull this up later. I think you'll get the slides right, so that you can kind of come back to this. I've got some bullets on what basically with each channel, right? Like, so what's generally available in terms of message simplicity or complexity, also in terms of urgency. So for example, let's talk about, let's start with that example of the sale starts now, just because it's top of mind. Like if the sale is actually starting now, an SMS and a push would be probably pretty important, right? Those are highly disruptive, but if the sale is starting now, I may want to know about that. I've also opted in to hear those channels from you. So like, I want to get that content, but then you can reuse that. Sale starts now is pretty simple. You could then like look at the other end of the spectrum for the email. You could be sale starts now. It runs through whatever date. Here's some images from products or product categories that we feel like are interesting for me based off of my past purchase history. You can layer on complexity from there. And that's how you could essentially, and we'll talk about this here in a second when we get into our best practices, but take that core message and then map it to, you're obviously going to map it to who you're trying to talk to, but then map what message is going to work well in which channel. So like urgency and SMS and push, we've talked about complexity, less urgency with email, but also on the website. I hope all that makes sense. So with that, now we want to talk about best practices, because we're going to take through that matrix. We're going to take thinking about our content in terms of urgency and simplicity, and we're going to map that into our actual matrix. So you can take your message and you can put it in here, depending on where you feel like it falls in your, where the message falls, like in these different, like, I don't know what the right word is, like, I don't know, whatever. I think you know what I'm trying to say. But then, yeah, quadrants. There you go, Casey. Thank you. That was the right word. Jeez. So, and I've done literal workshops with clients here. So especially when you're like considering the journey. So effectively what we would do sometimes, and this is like, I mean, I say this is a little workshop, but it doesn't have to be. You could just sit down with a couple people on your marketing team and probably knock this out in an afternoon, which is, who are your, like, you should know who your target client base is. What's their typical path to a conversion? And what information is important to them across that funnel? You may have, it may be, in our sale or our retail example, it may be a very simple, short funnel, but you can go all the way over to like B2B software sales, where it's a very long funnel. You've got a lot of touch points, you've got a lot of decision makers. So then what we do is we'll map that content to their funnel. At what point in the stage of the buying consideration cycle does this content make sense? And then we'll map it to which channels make sense for that content. So that's kind of what I'm talking about there when I talk about considering the journey. Leveraging push and pull. We talked, about how push is kind of intrusive. It's sent when the brand kind of tends to want to send that message, whereas there's other content that will pull somebody back into your brand because you're kind of fishing where the fish are. So it's really effective to leverage both that push and that pull. That gets you a good balance. You're talking to people where they've opted in to talk to you, but you're also having a conversation with your subscribers where they already are, and you're able to kind of play into that. So that gives us to our next cycle. You're able to play into those different channels and optimize them for their strengths. Social is a really great one to pull out. So, if you've got organic social followers or even paid social ads, you can kind of lean into what's popular within those particular platforms. So, with TikTok, you can do some fun videos, or with Facebook, I don't know, you may do, I don't even know what's on Facebook anymore these days, but like social is fun and engaging. So if you can kind of lean into that a little bit with your particular brand and your content, that's how you optimize for that channel's strength. I also compare this to like paid search, right? If you go to Google right now and you search for something, you're going to get, I don't know, probably 8 ads that show up either on top of, or they used to be on the side of the page. That's pretty quick and straightforward text. So like, be snappy with your content, get to the point. Don't like screw around with me. Like, just tell me what I need to know right now. I hope that makes sense. That's where you can also leverage that kind of this slide back here. If you know me, I tend to go back and forth in my slide decks. So that's super fun. Yeah, like keep this as a reference point. Think about like what each channel does really well. All right, so then our last best practice is test and invest. Test sending just an email out to your subscribers. Test sending that same email plus maybe a push message, or plus maybe a personalized web content block, or both. Test also maybe putting that post out on social and see where people are engaging and what difference or what uptick you'll see when you are talking to them in multiple places about the same thing. Invest, because there's certain technology that can make this a lot easier for marketers to manage. One thing that we will commonly see is sometimes, marketers just don't have the right technology in their stack to accomplish what they want to do. A lot of times you do have the right technology. It may not be fully optimized correctly, but invest in making sure as you're looking at rolling out true multi-channel campaigns that you've got the right technology in place for you to execute these types of campaigns. So what's a message, like message mania without a little Ric Flair in it? Let's look at some, like a brand that Braze did a case study on. And if I were to tell you, you could get 200% lift in your click-through rates, I think every single person here would raise their hand and say, like, yes, I want this for sure. How can we do that? There was a Braze client, the dating app. I think probably everybody's heard of Hinge. Their whole like business case is, we want you to delete our app. So they want people to come in, delete the app, and then like find somebody that they want to be in a relationship with and get rid of it. They were sending out emails to their users, basically letting them know, hey, we've got new matches for you in our app. And they weren't really seeing the engagement that they wanted to see there. So they rolled and they started, and they actually leveraged Braze to do this. They wanted to send out the email. They also wanted to incorporate that daily match information in app. So when people got to the app, that message was still there, still top of mind for a person, but also leverage push notifications, which, again, would be like, hey, literally your daily matches are ready. They rolled that out. They then started testing. And what they wanted to test in the email was, if I actually showed you your matches, like pictures of the people that you had matched with that day, versus what I'd call like obfuscating or like blurring the images of those people, which one was more compelling for their users to click through? And what they found was, when they actually showed the images of the matches, they got click-through rates like 3 times higher than what they had been getting with their current campaigns. That is, there's a lot to be said for that. There was also driving awareness of that current email and that current those current matches in the app via those push notifications. So when we talk about testing, we want you to test the channels. We want you to test the messages in those channels and how you deliver and communicate with your subscribers. So I'm going to try and wrap up just a little bit so we can get to some good Q&A. There's a lot of questions in here. I don't know if we'll be able to see Tinker or Prue, but they're around. The bottom line here, when we're talking about building out multi-channel campaigns, is your brand's subscribers are unique to you. Your message should be unique as well. Like, what is your value prop? Why would people come to you versus one of your competitors? I'm giving sort of general guidelines here. You are going to have to take your messaging, map it against your matrix, again, in terms of urgency and complexity, and then determine a testing plan. So what message makes sense to send to a person in what channel? So do I send them this in push, or is this an email? And then when, like, what point in the buying cycle does it make sense to send this particular message to somebody? I'll talk through like, a B2B example, which is a great example, because that's a very long buying cycle. Is you wouldn't ask somebody to buy, millions of dollars of software on a first date. That's what we're talking about here. And when you map your messages against that matrix, you'll start to see what makes sense to send to somebody based off of kind of where they are with you. I think there's a lot of questions, but I did just want to wrap up, say thank you. Again, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. I don't normally wear my Hulk Hogan head wrap, but had to get into the theme of the event.
Oh, Kat, I love. Gotta give her a hey, brother. Kat, I'm so glad you got to join us today. But yeah, let's look at some of these questions. Oh yeah, everyone, let's give a round of applause for Kat, ladies and gentlemen. There we go. Love it. Gotta give it. Yes, it's QA time. Let's do this. Let's check them out. I'm upvoting the ones. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you throw those questions in the QA tab and upvote the ones that you want answered. But let's see here. Top question that's coming in. This one actually came in from an external channel, so I had to throw this one in here. But let's see here. If we are looking to branch out from using primarily email, what do you think is the next best channel to consider using to reach customers? Kat?
That's a great question. I'm a big fan of like on-site personalization, just in general. So email rather is really good at driving traffic back to your website. Let's continue that conversation that we had in our inbox on our website. That's just in general, kind of across the board, regardless of what industry you're in. But if you could dive in on industry a little bit, you may find, for example, like in-app messaging makes a little bit more sense. And you can do that a couple of different ways. You guys have all had apps where you get like a literal inbox in that app that's telling you you've got something ready for you, but you can also personalize content within your app with like content cards or things like that. A lot of companies don't have apps because it's not really relevant to them. So then you got to decide if you want to look at, like SMS potentially, if that's relevant, if there's messaging that's that urgent that you should send a text message, maybe invest in that channel. I hope that's kind of helpful. It was a long answer, but yeah, I would say look at a website first, just in general, and then probably look at your particular company and may see what makes sense for your subscribers.
Love it, love it. You heard it here first, folks. Let's see here. Moving on. And then, Carlos wanted to know, you might have covered this towards the end, but what would be a good mix for the B2B market in comparison onto B2C?
That's a great question. So I worked for, just as some background, like for a B2B, I just always say software because that's my background. It was a B2B software company. But in general, a lot of B2B buying cycles are a lot longer. So paid search works really well. Paid social, depending on, that would be more of like a LinkedIn type of play, more so than probably like Facebook or TikTok, because I don't know about you, but if I'm on TikTok, I don't really want to see ads related to what I do during the day. I just want to be entertained.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Right. I know a lot of B2B companies do things like, so we talked about like fishing where the fish are. So that's like paid search, but then they'll be on they'll do like sponsorships of content or industry like related types of websites where they'll run ads or paid content, or they'll be like sponsors of an event so that their logo is present where people who would be good target audience people would be at these different events. So that's a big popular thing too, which I didn't incorporate in our channel because it's not really digital. That's more offline, but that's another consideration here as well.
Love it. Sounds good. And let me see here. And this one's another one that came in from an external. I'm gonna throw this back up here. If we are looking to collect customer feedback, is there a channel that works best for that?
That's a great question. Yeah. I'm going to put on my literal consultant hat and answer you and say, like, it depends. That's infamous consult. We are so bad about being like, it depends. So let's kind of there's some scenarios though, right? Like
you're like, I don't know.
I don't know. It depends. Like, I guess my question back to you would be like, what kind of feedback are you looking for? Like, are you looking for feedback like, do you like this or that? Like, is it very simple, quick answer kind of type of feedback? Or is it more like, do I need to be more thoughtful and say, here's my experience with this brand looked like this, and I would like to improve it like that, or I thought they did whatever very well. Those channels are going to be, I would recommend different channels based off of that type of feedback you're looking for. So you can actually probably go back to the matrix, right? And think about the simplicity or complexity. If you want really simple feedback, you could probably do something via like, depending on the brand, like a paid a search, social, like poll, and you just have like options and people click which one they like the best. Or you could do, I don't know. I don't really want to do like a SMS poll. I know it's like, not to bring up politics, but like it's election season and I live in a state that I get text messages literally all day long asking for my opinion, and I hate all of them. So I probably would recommend not doing SMS. But then if you're looking for like more thoughtful feedback, email is a great place to start, but actually probably depending again on your industry, you may even want to pull that offline, where if your brand has a relationship with a client, like with a person, I think about if I'm asking for feedback from a client, I personally make that ask to them. I don't like have my marketing team send out a blast email asking, all of my clients to give feedback on the projects that I've worked on with them. I do that like directly with them.
Got it. All right, and then looks like we've got time for one more. This one's coming from Matthew. Matthew said, for consumers, let me just pull that one down. Let me see if it works.
Yeah, so can you pull it into this? Yeah, nice. Look at that.
I think I'm having a little issue right here.
Uh-oh.
Let me see.
Can we just read it out?
Yeah, here we go. I think okay. There we go. For consumers, is it reasonable to be reached through multiple channels if you gave both your phone number and email, or can it seem spammy? As a privacy-focused person, I have my thoughts, but how does the average consumer consider this?
Yeah, that's a really great point, right? So it can be. I mean, if you're getting like bombarded all of a sudden, you're like, what in the heck? Why is this brand talking to me in SMS? They sent me an SMS and a push message. Like those are both going to get to me probably at the same time. I'm going to get really annoyed really fast. I threw that Amazon example out there. I'm getting emails and a push already about this thing that they're going to do on sale, that they're going to do rather with Prime Day in like a week and a half from now. I don't care. And I think that's really where you can derive a lot about what a consumer wants to hear, where they want to hear from you based off of like where they're engaging. So like if I opt in for SMS, you're not really going to get a lot of engagement there. But I've raised my hand, I literally have to raise my hand back to say like, yes, I want SMS text messages. So like I should probably come up with a plan to send those subscribers a communication via text message on a somewhat regular basis. If you start seeing a lot of opt-outs, maybe you're hitting them too much, or maybe you're not hitting them regularly enough. Like it could be a balance, right? Like if I opt in for something, think about email. If you opt in for text messages and then you don't hear from the brand for 3 weeks, and then all of a sudden you start getting text messages, you're like, what is this? I didn't do this.
Who is that?
So who is this? Like, what? Where did this start coming from?
Yeah.
Right. I think, so that's kind of where like I would go back to planning out where, like how urgent a message it is, and then where does it make sense to send it to them. So I'll wrap this up maybe with like my sale example. So I may give you multiple channels to talk to me if you're a retailer and you're somebody that I buy from on a somewhat regular basis. I may give you my email. I may give you my phone number. I may have your app downloaded, and I visit your website regularly. So I've got these channels that you can talk to me in addition to like the paid ones. If you send me a text message and then follow that up immediately with an email and then immediately with a push message, I'm probably going to be annoyed. But if you send me a text message that says the sale starts now, and then maybe even later that day, I get an email that's like, here's some things that we think you would be interested in. And then later on in the sale, I get another email with something. And then at the very end of the sale, you send me a final text message. It's just like sale ends today. That's going to be a better experience than like getting all of these messages all at once through all the channels.
Yeah, just like gotta love like when you opt in for something and you get hit it by everything. You're like, okay, now I'm overwhelmed. Now you're like,
yeah, I opted in, but I'm super annoyed, and also now I'm opting out. So like I did myself zero good to the brand. Like I just paid all this money to acquire this subscriber that I then just annoyed into opting out. Nobody's gonna like that. Your CMO is not gonna be happy.
Exactly. Yes. Oh, goodness gracious. Well, Kat, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to be here with us. Thank you so much time for putting on your wrestling mentality. I loved it.
Man.
It's so good. Loved it. I was going to throw this up here. Is this the best way for people to get in contact with you or follow along with everything that you are doing in the amazing email world?
Yes. Like I said, feel free to email me. Feel free to hit me up on LinkedIn. I'm playing around with some email career tips on that website that isn't
Ooh.
really finished yet, but yeah, you can talk to me there too.
Looking forward to see that. Looking forward to that. Kat, it's so good to see you. Thanks for stopping by.
Yeah,
It's funny because
good to see
Kat
all
and
of y'all too.
I like briefly met at a conference this past spring, but I didn't know she was there, so we just passed each other like ships in the night. So now that we know that we have that, we are acquaintances and stuff. But I hope I get to see you before the end of the year. I hope everything's good for
Totally.
you. And thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. See y'all.
Of course. Ladies and gentlemen, Kat Mears, everyone. All right, we're going to move on to the next session. Thanks, Kat. We're going to go and move on to the next session, and I'll see you then in just a second.